Today's segment of Sound Balming is brought to you by Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Body Care. I cannot express to you how much we love their products. Although we use them all year, as the weather gets colder, we need these products even more. The dreaded drop in temperature, the dryness, the itchiness, and the unnecessary flakiness is inevitable. Shea butter from Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Body Care is the only thing that works for my skin and hair needs. Not only do these products cure my dry skin, the whipped butter goes on smoothly and doesn't leave that uncomfortably thick, sticky residue. Bonus? It smells absolutely amazing. There are so many different scents to choose from too. Not only do they carry skincare products, there are products for authentic living, face, shower, hair and beard, spritzers and perfumes, and bath products. Let me tell you, we cannot even keep the stuff in the studio. The entire production team as well as all our children use Jimmy and Mary's product. Jimmy and Mary's take pride in creating quality, handcrafted products from simple ingredients for the entire family. Their products are made for all skin types and are 100% handmade, 100% vegan, and 100% cruelty-free. Skincare is important. Moisture is key, and keeping our skin and hair hydrated is essential. I cannot emphasize how much we trust Jimmy and Mary's for all of our skincare needs. Hurry on up to jimmyandmarys.com and check out their products. Did I mention service is fast and efficient too? Don't forget to mention that you heard about Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Skincare on Sound Balming. Use the discount code SOUNDBALM20 to get 15% off. That's SOUNDBALM20 for 15% off at Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Skincare.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sound Bombing. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bombs. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Lamar Darnell Shields.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the time of the day it is. Welcome to my show. I'm your host, Dr. Lamar Darnell Shields, the creator of Sound Bombing. And my goal with this show is to introduce you to people with ideas that will help you unlock your full potential, like today's guest, Amelia Roberts. Amelia Roberts is a digital native who officially became a practitioner of online marketing 12 years ago with a role as a virtual assistant. Student loans from nursing school inspired her to put her love of social networking, observing human nature, showing empathy, and previous marketing expertise to work in new ways. And as a result, she was able to pay off her student loans in under 2 years as a social media manager. That's a huge, huge task. Now, alongside her other roles, you can find Amelia assisting self-identified introverts to clearly articulate their unique value, get first dates in business, and become pivotal players in industry-shaping conversations, all while maintaining work-life harmony with the proper systems of support. As an introvert, then I have a question. Are you doomed to fail at interviewing out there, sound bombing community? Let me tell you, definitely not. If you're among the estimated 50% of US population who identifies as an introvert, like my guest, the prospect of interviewing for a new job and getting a date can be somewhat terrifying. While introverts are often skilled listeners, a trait that will come in handy during many interviews and dates in this process, they often struggle to meet other expectations set by people who sit down and interview with them, such as a powerful first impression, quick reminder, well-composed answer delivered on the spot, and ease in front. Well, listen, Here to talk about all thing introverts is my friend who's joining me in the bomb shelter, Amelia Roberts, who's here today to answer any of those questions that you may have and to share her story with my listeners. Amelia, welcome to Sound Bombing.
Hey there, Dr. Shields. Thank you so much for that welcome.
Well, I am happy that you are here. As I was preparing for the show, I asked my daughter, who is an 11th grader, are you an introvert or you an extrovert? And I knew the answer. She said, I'm introvert. And my daughter is an empath. She takes on others' emotions. That's why I was so excited to bring you in for an interview, because I hung out with a good friend of mine, Nick Shelton. I don't know if you know Nick Shelton. He was on Sound Bombing and he blew it up in a positive way, because he talked about some of his own struggles. If you don't know Nick, he wrote a book called An Introvert's Guide to World Domination. Become a high-level networker and upgrade your life. And it's an amazing book. To shout out to Nick. And so now you are here joining me today to talk about your amazing work. So I want to start with this question first. Let our listeners know where are you calling in from? And then I'd like to do a mental and a physical check-in. How are you doing?
Thank you for that. So I'm calling in from Silver Spring, Maryland, the DMV area, for those who know that. That's where I'm based. And my check-in, thank you so much. I'm going to be taking some time off next week. We had a family event. We're going to be traveling down to North Carolina. And so I'm really looking forward to that time, because I need some quiet. I've been doing a whole lot of peopling lately. And I've been participant in a few summits, which is a way of, I do my personal branding. I don't like to do the one on a lot of, things one-on-one. It takes a lot of emotional energy. I'd rather be part of a summit that goes out to the audience of 10 to 12 people instead of me showing up doing lives every day. That won't be sustainable. But in any case, that was a lot of peopling. And so I know now, because of various things, we might get to that, what my schedule needs to look like. It needs to look like areas for me to have quiet and calm. So I'm going to be having that next week. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I'm sure you deserve it. Since we're talking about branding, shout out to my great HBCU. I'm rocking my Grambling State University gear. I just felt some pride today, Amelia, when I woke up. I wanted to represent the black and gold, my school in Louisiana, actually, because I'm going to be taking a trip there next weekend to hang out with one of my buddies. So, it's interesting listening to you talk, and I'm thinking about my 17-year-old daughter, and I'm about to talk to you. You probably like, yep, sounds like me. Yep, I know that feeling. So I'm learning more about this beautiful child. Her name is Samira Adama. Beautiful young lady. Thank you. And I'm learning about her more and more every day. And I remember when she was young, Amelia, she struggled with sounds and being around a lot of people. She struggled. Our running joke was like babies and animals. That's where she spent a lot of her time. She loved babies. She loves animals, because there's a level of them not wanting anything from her and her just giving her love. And I remember, Amelia, maybe like a month ago, a friend of mine came in from Chicago, and where I'm from, and we kicked it all day, hung out. It was a lot going on. And my child made a beeline straight to her bedroom. Now, 10 years ago, Amelia, I was like, get down here. You have company here and you need to entertain company. And I'm noticing with her, you started sweating already. I see the sweat running down your brow right now. What I'm noticing, and I'm grateful for people like you who've come on the show to really help me. I'm noticing how to engage her. She really needed that time to recharge her battery and then come at me. I'm a host of a show. I speak all over the country. Everything is loud in my space. The energy is always high, but I'm noticing with her, I need to engage her different. Did you, as a young person, do you identify what I'm saying about my daughter?
100%.
She's like, listen, 100%. I'm already about to jump in the double dutch room. I'm already about to jump in right now. So you identify. Let's talk about you growing up, and then share with me some of the strategies that you currently use for those parents that are out there who may have a teenage or may have a significant other, because I don't want to scream at my daughter. 10 years ago, I'd have been like, no, you need to come. How parents can be, come down here. But now I'm learning more about myself and I'm learning more about her. So you said you identify. What role what part of that story do you identify with?
So first of all, Dr. Shields, I just wanted to say shout out to you as a dad for recognizing, we're all learning. And, the fact that you now know that she needed that space and that, calling her back to, was not the thing to do. But shout out to you for that. So,
Thank you.
So long story short, my mom noticed in me, and I love conversations because, they go in places that we didn't think that we were going to go. Didn't know I was going to be talking about that, but it's lovely because I hope this will serve someone. So when I was like in middle school time, my mom noticed that my personality changed. Like I opened up, I became her like my real self towards the end of summer. Towards the end of summer, after I, left school, got out of school and so I started to open up, I started to flourish, and then I went back to school. And so obviously this has happened for some years. I was like in middle school and then I got sick. I got, nothing serious, but I missed a few days, a lot of school, and catching up was challenging, and getting the books, being able to, bring books home was a thing. Long story short, I went into homeschooling. I started homeschooling, and this is like over 20 years ago, before it was a thing. And so over 20 years ago. So yeah, went into homeschooling, and oh my goodness, that that did so much for me. I was able to finally control my environment. I was able to finally control, how my energy was spent, who I was spending my energy with. In middle school, I used to take lunch in the school library so that I could recover for the rest of the day. And so and she's a nurse by trade. She's a registered nurse by trade. So she used her assessment skills. She noticed, behavioral patterns and changes. And so she brought me into an environment where I was able to regulate my own environment for my emotional benefit. Had she not done that, I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know what would have materialized or what coping mechanisms I would have had to attract, or, I don't know what would have happened, to be quite honest. So I'm forever grateful that I had a parent who recognized, what I needed to feel safe, and gave me that environment and gave me back control of that environment. And also that equipped me now as an adult when I find I need to establish barriers, or if I need to start to take a break. It comes easier to me to be able to say, you know what, I just, presented here, I presented there, I did this Zoom call, I did this. And I think maybe the next day I should probably, reschedule some stuff and give myself some quiet time. Or, if I'm going to be presenting, somewhere, maybe that afternoon, maybe I should block out that afternoon so I can just have some quiet time to recover. So that's what that looks like.
Well, I appreciate that. So before we jump into your work, I want to backtrack just a little bit because I want to go to the parents who I have these professionals that listen to my show, but they're also parents. What advice do you have for parents who is raising a kid who's an introvert, and also who has this empathy, this strong level of empathy towards other people that we may not be connected to?
So being aware of when to give, your child space. It's not that your child is being rude or not trying to be sociable, because, social interaction is a huge part of Black culture.
I'm so glad that she's
part.
And you said the rude piece, because the Black daddy came out, and when the Black mama come out, it's like, no, you need to get down here. Because again, I think the more we are learning about individuals, and I'm so glad you said it's a part of our culture. It's a part of people of color. We like this, the people being around. And when we see someone pushing away from that, we don't like that. And I'm glad that you talked about a part of our culture for folks who aren't of people of color, to understand why this is a big deal.
Yeah. So parents, sometimes if you have a kid that notices that, just be aware that maybe it's not that they're antisocial or they don't want to, form relationships. It might be that they weren't prepared, or they didn't know of that they were going to be in a social setting with a lot of people. Because in fact, it's a long story, but I'm giving a story about my grandfather. He passed away. And, part of that story is, him, taking us on trips to vaguely described destinations, and, being with, and some visiting his friends, and we're staying there until, whenever. So it's like I wasn't, emotionally prepared for that. But long story short, it's just if you notice that of your child, just, prepare them, let them know. It's like, yeah, I know that you like your quiet time, but we're going to be going, X, Y, and Z, and there are going to be some people here. That would have given me, back then, this is already, reflecting, it would have given me some time to prepare and like, okay, all right. And then I may have said, hey, mom, okay, when we get back home, will I be able to, just go to my room and stay there for the rest of the evening, kind of have my dinner there? Okay. Versus, dinner being ready and me not coming out, I hope, does that make sense?
No, that makes a lot of sense. So how would you differentiate between being shy and an introverted?
That's good.
Because I'm hearing a lot of people, there's a lot of people in my network. That's like the new thing. Like, I'm really shy. Like, I'm not going to name any people who listen to the show. I'm like, fool, you are not shy. I've been known, no, you are no. It's like when people say, when people call themselves humble, they really aren't. Like, I'm just trying to be humble. No, fool, you're not trying to be. Because when you got to let people, know what I'm talking about, Amelia. Like, I'm really humble. No, when you have to tell people that, then you really are.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Would you say there's a difference between being shy and introvert?
So when I was growing up, I was painfully shy. Like if I had a need or if I had a concern, if something, came up, I would bury that. I wouldn't say anything because I'd rather not interact. I'd rather not reach out. I'd rather not, express, what I needed. It was, like I said, painfully shy, the painful and painfully shy. That was me. Like if, there's this other person, she described it to a point where she was shy and she would be on a bus. She'd be, on the bus and they'd miss her stop because she didn't want to pull the bell and draw attention to herself. All right. That's shy. Being an introvert just means that that's how you recover. That's how you get your energy. After like doing activity with people, and I noticed it a lot. I noticed it a lot more. Like, I think after, it's a long story short, we went into a different community and we were around more people than I usually was. And after hanging out with them, I need to take a nap. And these naps would be like 3 and 4 hours. And I didn't realize it. I didn't even realize it. I'm like, okay, I'll just be going for a nap. And then I wake up later and my hubby was like, like, hey.
You went to sleep. No, You didn't take a nap. You went to sleep.
It crossed the line. From doing that to go to sleep. But that just happened like on a regular basis. It's like, wow, after being around the people, I really had to take go to sleep for, 3 or 4 hours. So being an introvert, that just means like, that's how you recover. It doesn't mean, to me, there's different versions of it. It doesn't mean that to me that I never go out or I never talk to people and that I don't, ever want to talk to people. No, I enjoy observing people. I like listening to conversations. I find people fascinating and from a distance, but, when I do have to do a lot of interaction, I just know like, that's how I have to recharge. But that might be another conversation with my husband. He enjoys being around people. That's how he gets his charge, is by being around folks. So that's how he gets his energy, and that's how it's fed. It's just,
you're probably gonna have to rest after this interview. You got your husband, you got me. Our energy is all over the place. I appreciate your husband and don't even know him yet. But you talked about the little girl on the bus, painfully shy, not wanting to be visible at all. You call yourself a visibility expert and an introvert. How does that then work? Explain that to me. It's like being humble.
Yeah. Right? So there came a time in my professional career where something happened. It was like so loud. But a loud thing that happened is like my desire to be obscure no longer served me anymore. It's like it served me until it didn't. And then when it no longer served me in such a huge, loud way. I was like, you know what? I need to start talking about my professional value in the workplace. I need to start articulating about my professional value. Being obscure and not being seen, I started to realize being invisible, whether it's being a patient, I have a background in healthcare, whether it's a patient, feeling like they're invisible or their voice not being heard at their bedside, in the hospital setting, that's always dangerous. That's always dangerous. Bad things always happen. And then as I started to grow my business in the business world, and I was, volunteered on a board, got volunteered to be on a board, but I was on a board position, being invisibility and being obscure in the boardroom, that was also dangerous. And so I started to realize, like, you know what, obscurity, that is almost like a disease. It's almost like a disease in a way. And it's never good. It's never great. And so that's when I started to realize, you know what, the reason why I hesitated with articulating my unique value is because I didn't know what words to say. I didn't have the words. And when I did have the words, I didn't really feel confident in saying the words. And so long story short, and I keep saying that, but and we're all here to have stories. So maybe I don't have to make it shorter.
No, stories are this I thrive. Our world is based on stories. So I'm definitely, this show is about stories. It's about growth and what we learn from those stories, and the stories that my listeners share on this platform really helps other folks, but it also helps the person who's sharing the story as well.
That's true.
So
That's
you
true.
can keep going. We're flowing.
Yeah. So a series of events made me realize that, you know what, showing up and being visible is needed, especially when you can solve an important problem and other people need what you have to offer. And I just started to notice, once I started to get comfortable with articulating my unique value, and as I started to do that, I started to reach out to people who were doing interesting work, and we started to share, and they saw stuff in me that I didn't see, and they started to invite me to present with them and to, go to conferences. And I think after I was invited to speak at a conference in Las Vegas to a group of health IT marketers, I realized that, you know what, there are other people who could learn to use the skill of articulating your unique value, knowing what to say, getting first dates in business, as I call it, getting first dates in business, and finding out who they need to, connect with, and doing it in a way where they're growing their network, they're growing their business by way of collaboration, not necessarily, going live on social media every day or living their life on Snapchat or whatnot, or TikTok. No shade against people who are doing that, but there's just other ways to start to grow your network, to be seen as an expert, to build your professional brand that doesn't require you to do hashtag, like all of the things.
I want to go back. We're going to move forward into the business world in a second, but I want to come back to a word you talk about, being obscure and being invisible. I don't know if you're familiar with the great Ralph Ellison. He wrote one book, and that book was called Invisible Man. And in that book, he says, I'm invisible. I'm an invisible man. I'm invisible. Understand simply because people refuse to see me. Where's the intersection with that being obscure, invisible, and being a woman of color? How does that intersect? You wasn't ready for that. You wasn't ready. I know you deep. I already see your mind roll. You already down for those conversations.
Yeah.
Because again, you talk about obscurity, and then you also talk about not being seen, and then the value of being seen in these spaces. But we got to unpack being a Black woman or being a woman of color and feeling that, and also being an introvert.
How long do you have? All right.
I'm about to say, we're in the Black church. Take your time, preacher. You know what they say in the Black church, for my folks that ain't in the Black church, take it, because I'm seeing you roll. I see it on your face. So last year after Mr. Floyd's murder, a lot of people were looking for us all of a sudden, out of the blue, people were looking for us. And somebody reached out to me to be interviewed on their platform. And I looked to see at their past guests, and I didn't see anyone that looked like me. And so I was, I'm very transparent. I said, hey, I haven't really seen a lot of diversity. What's up? I wanted her to tell me. And then she said that, for obvious reasons, she was, aware that there hasn't been a lot of diversity on her platform, and she wants to try to change that. And so I didn't really, so long story short, we went back and forth. We had a conversation, and she said also, not a lot of women of color pitch us. And so it's like, what came first? Do Black women, see her past guests and not feel like her platform is for them? Or is it Black women based on, the narrative that we have been told, various society conversations that we've been told, that we feel as though our voice doesn't matter? Is it all of it? What is it? And so I didn't have the answers. I didn't know. So I started interviewing some Black women who were visible and who supported other people with becoming visible, just to have conversations with them to kind of figure it out myself. And I honestly don't have a succinct answer to it.
But I know that when it comes to showing up and being visible, as Black women, we have more hangups than the majority. We're still grateful that for instance, like models of beauty, what's beautiful, what's acceptable. For whatever reason, this European standard of beauty seems to be something that we came up with. Like when I was growing up, and I'm not ancient, but um, so many of the dolls weren't, my skin tone, and the ones that were my skin tone had silky straight hair. So the idea that curly hair could be beautiful, that was a concept that wasn't necessarily a thing when I was forming my ideas around beauty, right? So when it comes to showing up and being visible as a Black woman, there's like other layers that we are dealing with. And then, of course, do I know enough? Am I expert enough to even talk about this? There's other people who know more than me. Yes, I got into this room, but should I even be here? Maybe I just got in. Who am I to really be here? Should I really be here? Do I belong here? And then should I even speak on it? So there's lots of different chatter that can come up around that. And in fact, like right now, I actually have a group. I just formed it. It's a private group, for Black women who are owning their revenue generating role in their business, life, or career, or all of the above. And I have a group of ladies who are owning revenue generation roles or responsibilities in either in their organization or business. And it's a tiny group. We just started. In fact, if anyone's interested, feel free to reach out. But I put a post in there that said, hey, I'd like to share your stories. I'd like to share your stories about you owning your role as a revenue generator. We'll, go live on LinkedIn and this and that. And it was like cricket. So I'm going to go out. I'm going to go to them directly now. That will be my next step. And the same, like I have been doing LinkedIn Lives where I'm talking to people about their stories. It's a professional water cooler chat. And I've been doing reaching out to people I'm connected with and saying, hey, I think your story is interesting. Would you like to do a LinkedIn Live? And I'm paying attention to the own diversity, like how it looks. Amelia J. Roberts on LinkedIn. Look at the past few folks that I've done LinkedIn Lives. I'm going to need to, my own self, do a concerted effort to add more diversity, just because the people who are saying yes aren't necessarily a large quantity of Black women. So I wish I had an answer to that, but all I can do right now is just model what I want to see, talking to strangers. And that's another reason why I do the professional water cooler chats, is like, I want to model what it looks like to talk to strangers and show up live, and be the quote change that I want to see. And of course, with my services, with what I do with supporting people with figuring out their messaging and their strategic partnerships and virtual speaking tours and podcast tours, I'm actually trying to make an effort of reaching out to Black career coaches, women who coach Black leaders, who want to show up and be visible, to talk about, would they be willing to do LinkedIn Lives with me and talk about their work and how they help people, and, see what happens from there.
So it's beautiful to hear that you're doing this for other women. But I know that this came with some personal work within yourself, because you talked about your early story. When it comes to the work with assisting other self-identified introverts to become who they are, talk about your early experiences that really helped shape you to do this, because it's interesting. You're talking about being invisible. You're talking about this concept of, let's just say, the concept of intersectionality, about being a woman of color. You're talking about, women who are generating income. You're putting them out there. But someone who typically, when I think of an introvert, someone who stays within themselves, what is it that's inside of you that other introverts just aren't able to do, where you're able to push these other people out there and then also feel comfortable sort of where you are in your own skin as well? Because, you do have people who like to work behind the scenes, and I'm seeing that, but then you're pushing people to be the very best that they can, and to a very loud space. So talk to me about your transformation to be able to do that.
If I could just work quietly under my covers and do my thing and amazing opportunities, I would be okay with that. if that would be reality, if I could just work under my covers, type on my computer screen, and Fortune 200 companies would come up underneath my covers and find me. If that was reality, I would love to be a part of that reality, but I'm also for operating in reality. People don't know what you can do until you tell them. That's just the truth on the truth. And I wish there was some other way. The closest way that I have found, not the closest way, but the closest way that I have found is sort of like what I do teach people is like sort of like referrals by design. When you do like podcast like this, like, podcast speaking tours, when you connect with people who have an audience of customers that need to know about you, that's a way for your voice to get out there. An example, a recent client reached out to work with me, no lengthy sales conversation. Didn't have to beat them over the head to work with me or anything like that. They heard me on someone else's podcast. Their mind was already made up because I do have content out there they were able to consume. They were able to see testimonials. They came to me in the conversation. It was just a matter of logistics. And so did I, wake up just knowing that? Well, no, I always had in me, like, I guess a bit of an entrepreneurial bug. When my dad was living, he was very entrepreneurial at heart. And long story short, so when we were little, I have a memory of selling pot holders to my grandmom's friends. So the entrepreneurial bug was inside of me, and being able to work in a way where I could control my environment, that was appealing. So when I got another round of student loans, and my husband was like, you know what, we could pay these off if we hit these with, an extra $1,000 a month. We could cut here, we could cut there, we could cut all these places. And so I was just like, or I could start, my business finally, because I had my baby cousin had started her business in 2009. And, that did something to me too. I was like, my baby cousin can start a business. So it must not be that difficult. And so when I got that other round of student loans, I was like, okay, so what can I do to help generate enough income to be able to pay those off? And I was like, well, I don't see myself, working more shifts in the hospital. How about I start doing social media management? Because I do enjoy connecting with people from a distance. And I, do know more about doing that than the people that I was helping. So let me just do that. And so, yeah, that's sort of like how that started. But again, I know enough about business and the way the world works to know that, it's not a build it and they will come situation. You do have to let people know that you can help them and serve them. But the way that I do it is a way that's conducive to me and my personality. Like, I'm not going live every day. I'm not, if you go over to my Instagram, you're not going to see a whole lot of activity. But what you will see is collaborations. What you will see is me being a guest here and there. You'll see more of that. So
seems what I'm hearing you saying, what I'm picking up from what I read, you're very methodical in your movement. So let's look at that word, and let's look at the skill set that you believe that introverts have over extroverts. And it's not the best of, but when you talk about being an introvert, there's a set of skills that you might not see that extroverts actually have. What are those skills that you think that you've gained from being an introvert that helps you in your business? And then explain, how do you then carry that over to the clients that you work with?
Observing human nature, being able to recognize themes and patterns. Introverts were able to assess situations quickly for safety, and we're able to pick up on, I guess we can sense stuff that other people can't sense. And I don't know if that's my introversion or me being an empath as well. But long story short, we're able to notice trends and see things that, that people might like or might not like, and things that people are in pain about, and things that people are troubling for folks. And so with my clients, how that translates over when they're trying to refine their messaging so that it's attractive and appealing, it really doesn't take me all day to figure out interesting topics of their community. It doesn't take me all day to figure out, what their pain points are, what their audience pain points are, what they're struggling with, and who are the players that they need to connect with. Because I observe And that's also how I got a board position. It's a long story short. I was at an event, and I had a list of people that I wanted to connect with. Again, very strategic. I just don't up and go to events and just, no, there's an entire plan and process. And I found out later, like, now that I'm doing more B2B work, that's an actual thing. People actually train their sales teams to go and have the strategy around, trade shows. But in any case, so that came naturally. Maybe
some people just go to turn up, and then some people go to meet some people, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm in the middle.
Okay. Well, I had this like list of people that I wanted to engage with, to talk to, or find out what they're doing or what they've been up to. And I saw this lady who was just talking to all the people on my list. It's like, this lady was talking to this. She was talking, and she was like hugging. I was like, well, how about I just scratch this entire list off and just talk to her? And so I invite, my clients to think about the same thing. You don't necessarily have to be everywhere. You just need to be where your future customers are, that meet your criteria, and then just go there. And so finding out where there is in those spots and those right rooms, that just sort of comes easier and natural to me. I am trying my hardest to teach it to other people, because I definitely want more people to be able to see that on their own. And I am starting to train people to be able to look for those specific opportunities, because like anything, when you start to train your brain onto what to look for, of course, you start to see it everywhere.
All right, Amelia, tell me about Scale with Sanity. What is that, and how can people get connected to it?
Sure. So Scale with Sanity is the name of an intensive that I started out of observing a lot of client success stories. They would grow, they would expand, they start to get lots of new business. And then they would say, you know what, Amelia, actually, I think I need to stop our services because I'm drowning in leads. Things are falling through the cracks. And I started to say, let me take a look at that. And so I started to notice that sometimes people aren't prepared to be visible just yet, or they need to have support structures in place to support building professional relationships at scale. Because when you start to do that, opportunities will come your way, and you just need to have a place to put those opportunities. And whether that means getting a virtual assistant or maybe someone to help you with your website, there's things that you need to have in place, even to bring in support. And so I started to think about, how can I best give a simplified version of support structures to have in place, so that you can scale with sanity, because mental health is a core value of mine. I've seen lots of different things in the entrepreneurial space when it comes to people who are growing and expanding without the proper help in place. So I've just felt it was a responsible thing for me to do, to provide that resource. So the Scale with Sanity guide is it's just that it's a light version of things to think about, like hiring a web designer, some things to think about, or if you want a virtual assistant, some things to do beforehand to make sure that first virtual assistant experience is a good one, or your next virtual assistant experience is a pleasant one as well.
So is this like an assessment tool that an entrepreneur would use to see where they are, or is it a tool to see the direction that they're going to be going in?
It's an ebook. A few pages. And if that's interesting, if they need support beyond the ebook, there is a link for them to reach out to me directly. I also have resources over on YouTube. I do have resources over on YouTube related to working with virtual assistants. I have a podcast, an entire podcast, Confident Collaborations, and I talk about how to hire marketing support, how to hire a writer. Again, on my YouTube channel, I have a video about working with a web designer. So I have information, probably need to bring it all together in one place, about best ways to set up yourself so that you can bring in support, because sometimes you might have a lot going on right now. And if you do have a lot going on, and if it is chaos, bringing somebody unprepared into your chaos, that might not be the best for either one. So the Scale with Sanity guide is just a first stop towards getting to that higher level of function.
In my introduction, Amelia, I talked about introverts maybe struggling in the job interview place. Some of us are going to work for ourselves, and be real clear, some of us are going to work for others. Mm-hmm. What are some interview tips you have for introverts that they can use today?
Again, something that comes naturally to us: be curious. Be curious. Because again, when it comes to social situations, I don't like just, and so in a job interview setting, you can't ask like who all is going to be there. You can't ask that, safety question. You can't ask that. But what you can do is learn more about the person that you are going to be interviewing with, right? Thanks to it being 2021, I'm sorry if I wasn't supposed to date this, but there's the internet, right? And you can find all sorts of information about the person that you're going to be interviewing with or the founder to prepare for interviews. I looked for podcasts where the founder had been interviewed. So I learned more about the founder, his thoughts on things. And I looked at the person that was going to be interviewing me. And so that the introversion side of me, or that researcher or observer or just nosy person, I don't know, maybe all of it, but was able to go deep. And so when I arrived at that interview, I can't say that I was like shaking in my boots. And another thing that I would also recommend for that could help is having the practice of inviting people that you've worked with to give you a testimonial. To say that I am, be honest, I'm working, I want to, do a better job of allowing people to know what I do and how I've helped. We worked on a project. Do you mind sharing, about your experience with working with me? And when you look at your testimonials, believe them. Believe the testimonials that you see. So reviewing your testimonials, your professional testimonials, and how you've helped people and supported people, and learning more about the people that are going to hire you. When you go into that interview, you'll have a level of confidence that will be easy to see from the other person as well.
Speaking of that, you have some amazing, amazing testimonials. I mean, the people that you work with, the organizations that you work with. I mean, I want to encourage you all to sort of check out the things that you're doing. Before I ask my last question, Amelia, how can my listeners get in contact with you? And if someone wants to work with you, how could they get in contact with you? And what should they expect if they take you on, if you take them on as a client?
Sure. So I do have an application process. Right now, it's a long story. I am very selective about who I work with, just because the nature of visibility is holistic. It's not just, it doesn't just include, messaging and getting on a few podcasts and you're done. I mean, and it absolutely could be that. However, it really is about the systems and structures to support building relationships at scale. Because I've had clients where I've introduced them to dozens of their ideal and best clients, check back how things are going, didn't realize I needed to keep in touch. That was their response. Didn't know that I was supposed to put them into a nurturing sequence and follow up with them and keep them in touch and let them know what was going on. And so when I reached out again for another event, it wasn't a cold outreach. They didn't know that. So I changed. I took notes from that. And it wasn't just one person. It was like a few people. I was like, you know what? Visibility really is a holistic thing. It encompasses a lot. So because of that, I'm very selective with who I do take on. But in any case, reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn as Amelia J. Roberts, a visibility and strategic partnership expert. And if somebody would like to reach out to me, also Amelia, Amelia, at Solutions by Amelia. But I'm also on Twitter and Instagram as Talk2 Amelia.
And I know one of the things that you do, Amelia, is you teach healthcare professionals how to leverage social media to build an online reputation. How are you doing that in the healthcare profession? Because again, I think of doctors as doctors. I think of nurses as nurses. I don't really think about them creating an online presence. How do you help them do that?
So,
because your background, you have a nursing background, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, very much. So nurses, we are charged, we take the oath, the ethical is part of our ethical responsibility to disseminate helpful, reliable, science-based information. That's what we signed up for in our communities. Pre-COVID, of course, things are starting to open up, but we're in the community doing community fairs and trainings and teachings and in different communities. That's an absolute thing. Now we have the internet. It's a way to disseminate reliable, factual, science-based information. And there's millions of nurses. Can you imagine if there were millions of nurses who were pumping out information that was easy to find, that supported people with making their best health decisions to prevent infection? Can you imagine, the benefit that there would be? So I'm for more health professionals doing that and teach. And so that's a passion. So long story short, that's what would you do for free? That's my passion, what I do for free. MedStar Hospital in Washington, D.C. has brought me in. Children's National in Washington, D.C. has brought me in. A few other organizations have brought me in to educate their professionals about that and disseminating their work. A lot of nurses are doing amazing work. They're doing great research. They're being in all sorts of peer-reviewed journals, and they don't share about it. They say nothing, then they go on to the next thing. So just that needs to change as well, as far as the dissemination of the research. And but in any case, that's how that works out.
Well, you are doing some amazing things. It's an honor to hang out with you. I have so many people I want to connect you with. So thank you for hanging out with me. This is the second part of the show is called the Super Bomb Questions. You did an amazing part on the first part. Now, I know introverts don't like to be put on the spot, but I'm about to put you on the spot. The second part is called the Super Bomb Questions, and they're brought to you by Mountain Made. Now, the difference between the first part and the second part, Amelia, you have to answer these questions as quickly as possible. All right?
Okay.
All right. So here, I'm going slow. Here we go. What's your favorite word?
Hope.
What's your favorite quote, Bible verse, or maybe a song to a lyric to a song?
Opportunities do not float like clouds in the sky. They're firmly attached to individuals. If you're looking for an opportunity, you're really looking for people. And that's from Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn co-founder, somebody who knows a thing or two about connections and opportunities.
What's your superpower?
Connections.
What's your spirit animal?
Oh, goodness. Tiger.
What brings you to tears of joy?
My hubby's support.
What do you wish you had? What brings you to tears of sorrow?
Regrets.
What do you wish you had more time to do?
Spend time with loved ones.
Outside the biological things that we all have to do, Amelia, what's your morning routine and ritual?
I have quiet time in the morning. My faith is very important to me. Reading the Bible is centering and needed. And I do a little bit of aromatherapy. Essential oils can literally change patterns in your brain. So I have a routine that I do with that. And then exercise, walking. We've started doing more walking around the neighborhood. And then, I start my day.
What guides your heart?
Oh, what guides my heart? Supporting people and becoming the best version of themselves.
What is the book or books you've given most as a gift and why?
Books that I have given as a gift. I definitely would have to say, this might sound old school, but the Bible. I really, yes, it's instructions that were written for us by our designer. And that might be another topic for other people, but I don't feel as though humans sprouted up from a twig of grass. I don't. I feel like we were designed, and there are instructions there, and it's hard sometimes. And people might balk and think that, we've, have evolved past that. But when we hear stories, we cry when something's sad, and we all elate when something's happy. If there's, a trashy table at a restaurant, we go to where the clean table is. We are all wired in a similar way. And so that's my answer.
Final question. Amelia Roberts, if you were in the Mrs. America talent competition, what would your talent be?
Oh, goodness. What would my talent be? It could be anything.
Anything.
If it could be anything. I'm planning food tours. Watch me plan a food tour. I don't know. I'm not exceptionally, hand-eye coordination isn't really my thing. So I can't think of stuff like that, but that would be my answer.
Final question. What's the impact you want to have on the world?
I want people to feel seen. I want people to own their story and realize that they're expensive. And I'm not talking about personal worth, because of course, you're priceless. But as far as your professional value is extraordinary. And I think a lot of us don't realize that.
Well, it has been an honor hanging out with you. I'm telling you, people, check out the great things that Amelia Roberts is doing in the world. You will be remiss I would be remiss if I didn't just say thank you for hanging out with me. It's been a pleasure listening to you. You've been a blessing not only to me, but to my children, or in particular, my daughter and all my listeners. So I want to thank you for hanging out with me today.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Shields. This was fun.
And I also want to thank my amazing engineer, Alexander Blanc, my super duper producer, Nicole Klempaka, Supremacy for our theme music, and all of you for listening. Make sure you subscribe. We're on every platform. Leave a comment. If you want to know more about me, go to drlds.com. Stop being stingy and share me with all of your friends. Please check us out. And as always, believe that something wonderful is about to happen. And some people miss the message because they're too busy looking for the mess, but not you, because you've been listening to Sound Bombing. Be blessed, be well, and be kind. Peace.
The Super Balm questions are brought to you by Mountain Made CBD. Mountain Made is changing the CBD game by offering a line of high-dose CBD tablets at an affordable price. Their products are THC-free and third-party tested for accuracy, cleanliness, and potency. Their products, which ship nationwide, include Build for CBD saturation, Boost for precision titration, and Recover for rest and rehab. With 9 years experience in hemp and fitness, Mountain Made's founders are focused on creating a quality product to help those who live an activated lifestyle. Check out mountainmade.life. Again, that's mountainmade.life to find out more about how their products can help you crush life. Remember, their products ship nationwide. Go check out their website today and follow them on social media at Mountain Made. That's the @ MNTMADE. Our staff at Sound Bombing uses Build before a morning workout, which helps to push our bodies to a whole new level on a daily basis. Try Build, try Boost, try Recover. Our staff is using these products to enhance our active lifestyle naturally, and we are crushing life with Mountain Made CBD, and you can too. Start today by going to mountainmade.life and ordering Build, Boost, Recover, or the multitude of other products that they have which will enhance your lifestyle. I promise you, you won't regret it.